Hello, this is your professor, Dr. Eric Mortensen. Today I want to talk about interpreting instructor feedback. The objectives of this lesson are as follows. 1. Describe methods for anticipating instructor concerns. 2. Identify best practices for reacting to instructor feedback. 3. Differentiate between higher order and lower order concerns. And 4. Translate common instructor comments into actionable revisions. Okay, so in order to anticipate concerns, you should do several things. First of all, closely read the prompt, examine the rubric you're given, look at models, consider prior feedback, and use checklists. Let's go into each one of these in detail. So the prompt and the rubric, this is really important. This is where I think a lot of students sort of stumble. The prompt gives you, the instructor's expectations for the assignment. So having taught for many years, I've noticed that a lot of times what happens is, sometimes it's as simple as the student doesn't really read the prompt in depth and misses some basic point of the assignment and therefore doesn't include something in their paper or doesn't quite get it right, and their grade suffers. So make sure you understand the prompt. That's the number one thing. You might also want to take a look at the rubric, right? What are the kind of expectations? What are the kind of parameters? What are people looking for? What is the instructor looking for? And these things are all in our class. They're all on Blackboard. Model assignment. So sometimes you'll get a model assignment, and these can be helpful. You can read them closely. What is done well? What could be better? How does the writer respond to the prompt? This kind of a thing. You obviously don't want to rely on these too much because, it's someone else's work. You've got to write your own paper, but it can give you a sense sometimes of how something's kind of done. Prior feedback, obviously, this is something. Writing is a skill that this class is helping you build, and this occurs over time. And so it's something that you learned last semester or last year or 5 years ago in a writing class, that can still pertain to this class, right? I'm not, I didn't have you as a student then, but a lot of times, these kinds of issues and problems, either they keep coming up, so you should kind of work on them, or that there's just some general things, general sort of hints about writing or things you should be doing that kind of stay consistent over time no matter what class you're in, and so you should be aware of that. So make sure you read the feedback and sort of absorb it and try to sort of use it for the next assignment, not only in your English classes but in any class where you do writing. Okay, if you get a checklist, use it. These can be helpful. Again, this is a process. Writing is a process that occurs over time. There's going to be mistakes, there's going to be problems, there's going to be stumbles. That's fine. Try not to get too upset. Respond, don't respond emotionally. Give yourself some time to relax. Make sure you go back to the prompt. If there's some major problem with the paper and you're frustrated by the grade, make sure that indeed there is a problem. Maybe it's the case you just missed something in the prompt, and before you contact the professor, before you contact me, make sure that that your concerns are indeed legitimate, and maybe you didn't overlook something along the way. You can also get help. I'm here. We can meet, we can talk. Some of you have already been doing that, which is helpful. You can visit the writing center. I actually work in a writing center outside of this part-time job. So this is I do it almost every day, and this really helps students, I think. Getting someone that's not your teacher to look at these comments and giving them something to work with and give you feedback on can be really, really helpful. And accentuate the positives, right? Everybody's doing things right. Everybody's doing something right. So, be positive about that, build on that, and then try to shore up your weaknesses. So, typically when we think about writing, we think of two, as a professor, we think of sort of two different types of problems. There are higher order concerns and lower order concerns, and these kind of probably are intuitive. Higher order concerns are more problematic issues that are larger in scope. And there's some questions here that you can see. So content, larger content, issues. You know, do you have a thesis? Do you have a main point? Do you reply to the prompt? Is your paper clear? Right? These kinds of things. These are, you know, major problems. If you don't have a thesis, that's a major problem, right? So that needs to be taken care of immediately. Organizational structure issues, you know, you're missing a conclusion, you're missing an introduction. Each paragraph strays from the point. There's no logical order, that kind of a thing. That needs to be rethought sometimes. Development issues, you know, do you support your claims with evidence? Is your analysis effective? That kind of a thing. So these are big issues. So if you have kind of these kinds of issues, you know, that's a problem, right? And that needs to be worked on. And again, going forward, try to anticipate that in the next assignment and don't make those same mistakes. So if you have these content problems, you know, focus on a prompt in the rubric. Make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. If you have organizational problems, maybe try an outline. If you have development problems, maybe go get an outside reader or read critically. Go to the writing center. Now, there's also lower order concerns, and these are still problems, but they're sort of smaller problems. Clarity, your sentences don't make sense, they're confusing, they're ambiguous. You're using too many words, you're not sort of describing things enough. There's flow problems between the paragraphs, between connections within a paragraph, and basic grammar, spelling errors, fragments, that kind of thing. And these things, they're not as big of a deal, of course. And honestly, if you're writing an A paper and you've got a few of these, I usually just overlook it. I'll point them out to you, but I'll overlook it. But if you have a lot of these, that's a problem, and you're not going to get an A if you have just an overwhelming number of these small problems. So try to get them fixed, and try just reading it out loud. Sometimes it's a matter of just reading your paper out loud, giving it to a friend. Some of these problems are just, you know, when you're writing a paper, you don't catch these things because your brain is filling in the gaps. But then when you go back and go, oh, wait a minute, I didn't put a word in, or, you know, I misspelled that. And, you know, you can fix these things pretty easily. So clarity of grammar, you know, read out loud, read slowly, you know, get someone else to read. If problems with conciseness, look for phrases that can be eliminated or stated more simply. Transitions, and you can go to the writing center and get some help. Here's a practice. Take a look. You can pause if necessary. Okay, that's it. Good luck. If you have any questions, please let me know.